So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Gloria. I'm here to present my PhD research, which started in May 2017. I've been, and this is like a project co-funded by Coventry University and Welsh Government. I've been investigating the way we can manage our natural resources for the human and ecological well-being of communities and their surrounding landscape. And I'll present you an example of Wales, which I'll tell you all about today. So Wales is this beautiful country here. These are pictures that I took myself. I was super lucky with the weather, as you can see. Wales is so rich and so diverse. We've got amazing coasts, we've got uplands, wetlands, extensive woodlands, farmland, and loads of cows and sheep. And this is obviously this one red here, but I guess everyone knows it. So this is amazing, but all of this is quite in danger because there's great pressure coming from climate change, from increasing pollution, from overexploitation of resources. So all of this is getting a very big threat, and like both the environment and our own well-being. So what is actually Wales doing to protect its natural resources and also the well-being of its communities all across the country? So the Welsh Government established a very progressive piece of legislation in 2015 called the Wellbeing of Future Generation Act, which sets 7 well-being goals, which are this nice picture here, that require all public bodies in Wales to contribute to the environmental, cultural, economic, and social well-being of people for future and present generations. This is in turn led to establish a sustainable management of natural resources principle, which in turn require all public bodies again to do everything they can in their everyday work to maintain and enhance the resilient ecosystems and healthy natural environment. And this is obviously based on the evidence that thriving communities can only cope with climate change in case where the environment is healthy and resilient itself. So this all can be done, according to the legislation, adopting the new 5 ways of working, at the core of which is collaboration, as you can see from here. Moreover, to reinforce the commitment towards the sustainable management of natural resources and well-being of people, the Welsh Government established a natural resource policy in 2017, which sets 3 national priorities. And the most relevant one for my work is taking a place-based approach, which means that whenever we plan and manage our natural resources, we need to work at the most appropriate scale, which means that can be the landscape level, can be the regional level, it can be the ecosystem and site level. Regardless the scale, it's very important that it is legislated actually that communities living in that locality are actually involved in the governance and in the management of those resources because they know best priorities, the opportunities and the challenges they're facing. So what is actually the problem with this approach then? Why the Welsh Government had to wanted to fund a PhD project working on these topics? Well, because first of all, there are many factors like social economic factors, institutional barriers, and also competing interests and values around the management of natural resources that can deeply undermine truly inclusive and meaningful collaboration around the management of natural resources. But also, how do we actually achieve a sense of ownership, a sense of stewardship in people in a way that they actually take part to practices, collaborative practices over a long term and not just the time of a lottery grant, which can be maybe 2 years or something like that. So I try to answer this question adopting a collaborative and transdisciplinary approach to my research, which means that my research was driven by the interests and perspectives of relevant institutional and non-institutional stakeholders, from governmental offices to third sector organizations to farmers to community groups. And this has been done through 3 strands that are intertwined. So my fieldwork, my qualitative mixed method fieldwork, was made of, first of all, a long-term collaboration, transdisciplinary collaboration with institutions, which means that I work with Welsh Government and Natural Resource Wales, which is the environmental agency of Wales, on quarterly based meetings that brought to the organization of 8 workshops throughout the last year for reinforcing the place-based and collaborative working within those organizations. Because, funny enough, these people do make legislations around collaborative practices, but most of the time they don't even know themselves how to do it because they don't have the space to experiment with those. Second of all, I engage in a 1-year participatory research project, action research project, which Project Skyline, which is a feasibility study led by third sector organization aimed to assess the social, ecological, and economic potential of large-scale community land transfer in Wales. And in that case, I was part of the project team. So I was part of a co-organization of events and workshops for community engagement, so community engagement activities and lots of participant observation and obviously workshops and focus groups I carry out throughout the whole year. And then third of all, I engaged in conducted a Pan-Wales extensive study interviewing 12 landscape partnerships across Wales, interviewing farmers, third sector organization, governmental officers involved in those partnerships, asking them what were the major challenges for their collaborative practices, what were the biggest problems and their own experience, personal experience in doing that. So what are some of the main learnings coming out of this research? Among the many things that I could have talked today about, share with you today, I chose to talk about 3 powerful tools that I found were fundamental to engage people all over, like continuous engagement of government, community, third sector organization, farmers, throughout the whole process, and to also build this sense of ownership and this meaningful collaboration. So in this workshop and events where we did it, we actually create a safe space where people could share and could actually reconnect one with another, reconnect through stories, sharing food, sharing a thought, sharing a walk, even dream together. But also this has been done just because we were really helped by art and artistic practices. So art has this magic power to bring you to a completely different dimension and let you think out of the box and actually think and see and perceive experience in a completely different way. And this was pretty uncomfortable for most of the people at first, but then with a bit of courage, we managed to go through it. And finally, this is all about trust and relationship building at the end. And this is about listening to each other. It's about listening to the stories that people have got. Stories that doesn't matter whether they're of the farmers telling you or the civil servants. It's about really listening. What are the fears? What are the doubts? What are the hopes? And the reasons why people care about their environment and their own communities. So relationship building was at the end one of the major points of this whole story. So what do I think my research has contributed to? I think it has contributed to increase the understanding of policymakers that they need to trust those people that have been already shown a lot of effort and a lot of capacity to get stuff done and to manage sustainably their natural resources, their own environment and their own communities. By doing this means giving more control and giving more resources to these groups. And this is actually something that happened with the Project Skyline, because Welsh Government gave more funding to the project, which ended in April last year, gave more funding to go on and keep going with the amazing work that we've been doing. But also, they realized that they need a very safe space where they can actually experiment and learn together within this organization, within the institutions, how to actually work together, because these people don't have the space. The bureaucracy is like killing them, so they don't have space to actually doing it and practicing themselves and understand. but also for vulnerable, especially community groups, which are most of the groups I've worked with in the Southwest Valleys. This was a great way to have their voice heard, and especially to reconnect one with another, and gather that strength and that motivation to get involved in things that actually makes a big difference for their futures. Because if they have greater control over their natural resources, they can have greater control over their own futures as well. And finally, for the people involved in landscape partnership, it was a way to, with this working together, was a way to actually show their great work, what they've done, and the amazing effort that they have put in what they've done throughout many years, not just the last 2 or 3 years, and have a supportive forum where they could discuss the challenges and opportunities also with institutional partners that most of the time don't really take part of this in these landscape partnerships. So all in all, the say more academic contribution of this research was showing the proper, the value of working together with other people and co-producing knowledge, co-producing evidence with people from all over the sectors and the backgrounds, and also contributing to the field of political ecology and socio-ecological system governance literature. So thanks very much for listening to me, and I really hope you have got questions for me. Thank you.